Hello. In this week's Torah portion, Behaalotecha, we read about a puzzling incident where Moses' siblings, Miriam and Aaron, criticize Moses on how he treats his wife. Quote, Miriam and Aaron spoke against Moses regarding the Cushite woman he had married, for he had married a Cushite woman. They said, "Has the Lord spoken only to Moses? Hasn't he spoken to us too?" Unquote. Now, Moses' wife Zipporah was a daughter of Jethro, a shepherd and priest of Midian. She and Moses had two sons, Gershom and Eliezer. She was not a Cushite, meaning Ethiopian. So why does Miriam call her that? Some speculated Moses had two wives. But the Talmud says that Cushite simply means one who is different. The book of Psalms referred to Cush the Benjaminite. Was Cush really that Benjaminite's name? Was not his name Saul? But just as a Cushite is distinguishable by his skin, so was Saul distinguished by his deeds. The Talmud continues, in like manner you explained the verse in the Torah, and Miriam and Aaron spoke against Moses because of the Cushite woman that he had taken for his wife. Was she a Cushite woman? Was not her name Zipporah? But just as a Cushite woman is distinguishable by her skin, so was also Zipporah distinguished by her deeds. In like manner, you explained the verse in Jeremiah. Now Ebed-Melech the Cushite heard. Now, was his name Cushite? Was not his name Zedekiah? But just as the Cushite is distinguishable by his skin, so was Zedekiah distinguishable by his deeds. In like manner, you explained the verse in Amos. Are you not as the children of the Cushites, Ethiopians, to me, O children of Israel, says the Lord? Now, is their name children of the Cushites? Was their name not children of Israel? The truth is that just as the Cushite is distinguishable by his skin, so are Israel distinguishable by their ways from all other nations. Unquote. The Midrash adds, quote, everyone acknowledges Zipporah's beauty just as everyone acknowledges a Cushite's blackness. The numerical value of Cushite, Kushit, is the same as quote, beautiful in appearance, Yefat Mar'eh, unquote. Now the Midrash says that before the Exodus, Moses sent his wife and sons back to Midian for safety, on the advice of Aaron. So Zipporah and her sons did not experience Exodus or slavery. After the Exodus, Jethro brings Moses' family back to him. Later, Moses asks God to appoint one of his sons as his successor. God refuses. Quote, your sons sat and did not occupy themselves with Torah. Joshua, who served you, is fitting to serve Israel. Unquote. The Midrash also informs us that Moses divorces Zipporah for her own sake, because he has no longer time for her. When the Torah says Miriam and Aaron spoke against Moses regarding the Cushite woman he had married, for he had married a Cushite woman, the repetition implies and has now divorced her. Unquote. So, in our verse, Miriam criticizes Moses for neglecting his wife. The Torah says that a man owes his wife three things: food, clothing, and intimacy. Sex is a man's duty and a woman's right. Indeed, the Torah says, quote, if he takes for himself a wife, he shall not diminish her food, her clothing, and her conjugal right. And if he does not do these three things, she can ask for a divorce. Unquote. So sex is clearly not restricted to procreation. Also, be fruitful and multiply applies only to men. How did Miriam know that Moses neglected his wife? One Midrash says, quote, Miriam saw that Zipporah no longer adorned himself with women's jewelry and asked her, why have you stopped wearing women's ornaments? Zipporah answered, your brother no longer cares about this. Thus Miriam learned that Moses had abstained from intercourse. Unquote. Another Midrash says, quote, Zipporah was next to Miriam and said, woe to the wives of prophets, for they will separate from their wives just as my husband separated from me. A third Midrash says, Miriam exclaimed, happy are these prophets and happy are their wives. Zipporah corrected her, do not say happy are their wives, rather woe to their wives. From the day that God spoke to Moses, your brother, he has not lain with me. Unquote. But prophecy does not exempt a man from conjugal duties. This is why Miriam says, quote, "Has the Lord spoken only to Moses? Hasn't he spoken to us also?" Meaning, we are prophets too, and we were not told to abstain from marital relations. But the Midrash explains, quote, "The Torah says the Lord suddenly said to Moses, Aaron, and Miriam." Why does it specify suddenly? Because God revealed himself to them suddenly when they were ritually unclean following marital relations. They needed water to purify themselves, so they cried, "Water, water." So Moses had done right in separating from his wife. Since the divine presence revealed himself to him frequently and without warning, he would never have time to ritually clean himself after marital relations, and so had to abstain from them. Unquote. The Midrash notes that the Torah seems to sanction this. Quote, "After the giving of the Torah, God tells Moses, 'Go, say to Israel, return to your tents, but you remain here with me.' So Israel may return to their wives, but Moses may not." Unquote. The Talmud confirms this. Quote, "Moses separated himself from his wife. He reasoned, if the Israelites, with whom God spoke only once and said to them, 'Be ready for the third day, do not come near a woman,' I, with whom God speaks all the time without announcing a definite time, how much more so? And how do we know that the Holy One, blessed be He, gave His approval? Because it is written, 'Go, say to Israel, return to your tents,' which is followed by, 'But you, Moses, remain here with me.'" Unquote. Why was Miriam punished? Wasn't she expressing a legitimate concern? Because she spoke ill of Moses. Rashi uses this to warn against speaking ill of anyone. Quote, "If Miriam, who had no intention of speaking ill of Moses, was punished, all the more so someone who intentionally speaks ill of his fellow." But why was Aaron not similarly punished? Because Miriam, who is mentioned first, spoke to Aaron, but he just listened. Also, God showed compassion to Aaron for the recent loss of his sons Nadav and Avihu. Now let's use this story as a springboard for a general discussion of sex in marriage. How often should married couples have sex? The Mishnah answers, quote, "Students may go away to study the Torah without the permission of their wives for 30 days. Laborers only for 1 week. The minimum times for conjugal duty prescribed in the Torah are: for men of independent means, every day. For laborers, twice a week. For ass drivers, once a week, because they carry produce from farm to market, which requires their absence for a week at a time. For camel drivers, once every 30 days, because they travel longer distances with caravans. For sailors, once every 6 months, because sea voyages keep sailors away for months." Unquote. The Gemara elaborates, quote, "Rabba, son of Rabbi Hanan, said to Abaye, 'What is the law if an ass driver becomes a camel driver and thus earns more money, but spends less time at home?' Abaye replied, 'The wife decides whether to let him, but generally a woman prefers 1 measure of food with intimacy to 10 measures of foods without intimacy.' For how long may husbands go away to study with the permission of their wives?" Rabbi Eliezer said, "For as long as they wish." Rabba stated, "Those who are not home at the time they promise their wives risk losing their lives." Rashi comments, "They die before their time as a penalty for neglecting their wives." Here's an example. Rabbi Rehumi, who was frequenting the school of Rabbah at Mahuza, used to return home on the eve of every Yom Kippur. On one occasion, he was so involved in his studies that he forgot to return home. His wife was expecting him every moment, saying, "He's coming soon, he's coming soon." When he did not arrive, she became so depressed that tears began to flow from her eyes. At that moment, he was sitting on a roof. The roof collapsed under him and he was killed. How often are scholars to perform their marital duties? Rav Yehuda replied in the name of Shmuel, every Friday night, because on weekday they study late into the night. Unquote. Rabbi Yehuda Hanassi was engaged in preparations for the marriage of his son into the family of Rabbi Yosei ben Zimra. It was agreed that his son should first spend 12 years studying at the academy. When the girl was led before the son and he saw how beautiful she was, he said to them, "Let's make it just 6 years." When they made the girl pass before him a second time, he said, "Actually, I would rather marry her first and then go to the academy." He felt ashamed by his fickleness. But his father said to him, "My son, you have the mind of your Creator. In the Torah, God first says, you bring them in and plant them, but later God says, and let them make me a sanctuary that I may dwell among them." In other words, God first told the Israelites to build a sanctuary after they settled in the Promised Land, but then he ordered them to build it while they were still in the wilderness, so he could be with them even sooner, as a groom wishes to be with his bride as soon as possible. This leaves some questions for discussion. Was Moses right in releasing his wife? Was Miriam right in criticizing him? Should spouses wait faithfully at home for long periods or demand a divorce? We'll cover these subjects another time. Shabbat Shalom.